A billionaire marries an ugly maid to take revenge on her ex. But on their wedding night, he discovers the secret. The hum of the Bugatti Chiron's engine was a familiar lullaby to Jason Harper. He navigated the labyrinthine streets of Bel Air, the city lights blurring into a meaningless kaleidoscope. Success, the kind that graced magazine covers and inspired envy, was his. Harper Consortium, a fashion empire built on his relentless ambition, was a testament to his unwavering focus. Yet, the victory felt hollow. A gnawing emptiness, a quiet desperation for something more, echoed within him. He thought of Olivia, his soon-to-be wife, a woman whose beauty was as breathtaking as it was brittle. He'd been drawn to her like a moth to a flame, seduced by the allure of perfection, the illusion of having it all. Their upcoming nuptials were less a celebration of love and more a strategic merger, a carefully orchestrated performance for the world to admire. A text message chimed, shattering the illusion. It was Olivia, her words curt and dismissive, meeting Charles. Dinner's off. Charles Beaumont, the scion of a rival fashion house, a man Jason instinctively distrusted. A cold knot of suspicion tightened in his gut. He changed direction, the Bugatti's tires screaming in protest as he veered towards the Chateau Marmont, a haven for Hollywood's elite and their clandestine affairs. He spotted them on the terrace, bathed in the soft glow of candlelight. Olivia, her laughter echoing in the night air, leaned into Beaumont, her hand resting possessively on his thigh. Their whispers, though inaudible, painted a vivid picture of betrayal. Jason watched, the blood draining from his face, the world tilting on its axis. The emptiness within him solidified, morphing into a glacial rage. This wasn't just a broken engagement but a calculated humiliation, a public dismantling of his carefully crafted image. He wouldn't let her get away with it. The next morning, Jason stalked through the halls of Harper Consortium, a storm brewing beneath his meticulously composed facade. He entered his office, a sanctuary of minimalist design and breathtaking views, and shut the door. The silence amplified the turmoil within him, the betrayal echoing in the sterile air. He was startled by a soft cough. A woman dressed in the unassuming uniform of the cleaning staff stood nervously by his desk. "Mr. Harper," she began, her voice barely a whisper, "I'm so sorry, I didn't realize you were here." Jason glared at her, his patience razor-thin. "What are you doing in my office?" "I'm Grace, the new cleaning lady," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. "I came to empty your trash." Jason waved a dismissive hand. "Just do it and leave." As Grace emptied the trash, a small, antique locket slipped from her pocket and clattered to the floor. Jason bent to retrieve it, his fingers brushing against hers. He glanced at the locket, a delicate silver piece etched with intricate floral designs. "It's my grandmother's," Grace said softly, her cheeks flushing. "She gave it to me before she passed." Jason handed it back, a flicker of curiosity in his eyes. "It's beautiful." Their eyes met for a fleeting moment, and Jason saw a depth in her gaze that surprised him. A quiet strength, a resilience that seemed at odds with her humble surroundings. He dismissed her with a curt nod, but the image of her eyes, the quiet dignity in her demeanor, lingered in his mind. Later that day, trapped in the confines of a stalled elevator, Jason found himself spiraling into a panic attack. The walls seemed to close in, the air growing thick and suffocating. He gasped for breath, his vision blurring. Grace, who happened to be in the elevator as well, calmly took his hand. "Breathe with me, Mr. Harper," she instructed, her voice steady and reassuring. In, out, slowly. She didn't offer platitudes or ask intrusive questions, she just guided him through the panic with a quiet competence that surprised him. As his breathing returned to normal, Jason looked at her, a mixture of gratitude and bewilderment in his eyes. "Thank you, Grace," he murmured, his voice still shaky. You saved me." Grace offered a small, almost imperceptible smile. "Sometimes, the smallest spaces can feel like the largest prisons," she said, her voice filled with a quiet understanding. "We all need help breathing sometimes." The elevator lurched back to life, the doors sliding open, but the connection forged in that confined space lingered between them. The following days were a blur of calculated maneuvers. Jason, fueled by a cold fury, began to subtly undermine Olivia's position within the company, exposing her inadequacies during board meetings and subtly shifting alliances within the executive team. He observed Grace from a distance, intrigued by her quiet efficiency and her unwavering composure in the face of the office gossip swirling around her. He found himself seeking her out, engaging her in brief conversations, drawn to her unpretentious nature and the quiet strength she exuded. One afternoon, he found Grace sketching designs in a discarded notebook during her lunch break. The sketches were surprisingly innovative, showcasing a raw talent that captivated him. "You have a gift, Grace," he remarked, genuinely impressed. Grace blushed, quickly closing the notebook. "It's just a hobby, Mr. Harper." "Don't hide your talent," Jason said, his voice gentle. "You have a unique perspective, a vision that could be invaluable to the company." He offered her a position as a design assistant, a chance to escape the drudgery of cleaning and explore her creative potential. Grace hesitated, her eyes filled with a mixture of hope and apprehension. I don't know, Mr. Harper. I've never." "Don't underestimate yourself, Grace," Jason encouraged. "You have something special. Trust me." Grace accepted, her heart filled with gratitude and a burgeoning sense of possibility. As she blossomed in her new role, her insights and fresh perspective breathed new life into the design team. Jason found himself spending more time with her, discussing design concepts, sharing ideas, and discovering a shared passion for creativity that transcended their disparate backgrounds. He began to see her not as a pawn in his revenge scheme, but as a woman of remarkable talent and quiet strength, a woman who challenged his preconceived notions and stirred emotions he hadn't known he was capable of feeling. His interactions with Grace were a stark contrast to his strained relationship with Olivia. Their conversations were filled with barbed remarks and veiled accusations, their public appearances a carefully choreographed dance of resentment. Olivia, sensing Jason's shifting attention, grew increasingly desperate to regain his affection, resorting to manipulative tactics and emotional outbursts. Her attempts only served to push him further away, solidifying his resolve to break free from her toxic grasp. One evening, Jason invited Grace to accompany him to a charity gala, a high-profile event attended by the city's elite. He wanted to showcase her talent, to introduce her to the world as his protégé, a symbol of his newfound appreciation for authenticity and creativity. Olivia, upon seeing Grace on Jason's arm, her face contorted with jealousy and rage. She confronted Jason, her voice dripping with venom. "What is the meaning of this, Jason?" she hissed, her eyes blazing. "Parading that cleaning lady around as if she's someone of importance?" Jason met her gaze, his voice calm but firm. "Grace is talented, intelligent, and a valuable asset to my company. She deserves to be here." Olivia scoffed, her voice laced with sarcasm. "Oh, I see. So, this is your new game, is it? Humiliating me by replacing me with someone so beneath you?" "This isn't about you, Olivia," Jason replied, his patience wearing thin. "This is about recognizing talent and appreciating authenticity. Something you seem incapable of understanding." He turned his back on Olivia and led Grace into the ballroom, leaving Olivia fuming in the hallway, her carefully constructed mask of composure shattering into a million pieces. The incident marked a turning point in Jason's journey. He realized that his desire for revenge had blinded him to the genuine connection he was forging with Grace, a connection that transcended social status and superficiality. He had started out wanting to hurt Olivia, but he had ended up discovering something far more precious, a love that was real, authentic, and transformative. Jason found himself seeking out Grace's company more and more, drawn to her quiet confidence and genuine warmth. He confided in her about his troubled childhood, the panic attacks that had plagued him for years, and the insecurities that lay hidden beneath his carefully crafted image of success. Grace listened patiently, offering words of comfort and understanding, her empathy creating a safe space for him to be vulnerable. One evening, as they worked late on a new design project, Jason confessed his feelings for her. "Grace," he began, his voice hesitant, I never thought I could feel this way again. You've shown me what it means to truly see someone, to appreciate their inner beauty, their strength, their resilience." Grace looked at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of surprise and joy. "Jason," she whispered, her voice trembling, I feel it, too." Their lips met in a tentative kiss, a kiss that sealed the unspoken bond between them, a kiss that marked the beginning of their love story. Jason realized that his initial plan for revenge had been a misguided attempt to fill the void within him, a void that only Grace, with her quiet strength and unwavering love, could truly fill. He had sought to break Olivia, but in doing so, he had inadvertently broken free from his emotional prison. He decided to confess the truth to Grace to reveal the manipulative origins of their relationship. He knew that his deception could jeopardize everything they had built, but he couldn't live with the weight of his lies any longer. He invited Grace to dinner at a quiet, intimate restaurant. As they sat across from each other, the candlelight flickering between them, Jason took a deep breath and began to speak. "Grace," he said, his voice heavy with guilt, "there's something I need to tell you, something about how we met, about my initial intentions." He confessed his plan to use her to humiliate Olivia, the calculated cruelty of his actions. He braced himself for her anger, her disappointment, her rejection. Grace listened quietly, her expression unreadable. When he finished, she reached across the table and took his hand. "I know," she said softly. Jason stared at her, his eyes wide with disbelief. You knew?" Grace nodded, her eyes shining with a quiet understanding. "I suspected something wasn't right from the beginning," she admitted. "But I also saw something in you, Jason, something beneath the anger and the hurt. I saw vulnerability, a loneliness, that mirrored my own. And I couldn't turn away from that." She continued, her voice filled with a quiet strength. "Your plan was cruel, Jason. You used me, and that hurt. But you also gave me an opportunity, a chance to escape a life that was suffocating me. And for that, I'm grateful." Jason looked at her, his heart swelling with a mixture of love and shame. He realized that Grace's love wasn't blind, it was discerning. She had seen him at his worst and still chose to see the good in him, the potential for growth and redemption. He had set out to manipulate her, to use her as a pawn in his game of revenge, but she had turned the tables, transforming his darkness into light, his cruelty into compassion. Jason, determined to make amends for his past actions, decided to publicly acknowledge Grace's talent and contributions to the company. He organized a press conference, inviting fashion journalists and industry influencers. He planned to introduce Grace as his new head designer, a position that reflected her remarkable talent and hard work. Olivia, upon hearing of Jason's plans, was furious. She crashed the press conference, determined to expose Jason's supposed charade and reclaim her position as the woman by his side. She stormed onto the stage, interrupting Jason's speech. "This is a farce," she exclaimed, her voice shrill with anger. "This woman is nothing but a pawn in Jason's twisted game of revenge. He's using her to humiliate me, to punish me for a mistake I've already apologized for." The room erupted in murmurs, the journalists scribbling furiously in their notebooks, the cameras flashing. Jason remained calm, his gaze steady. "Olivia," he said, his voice firm, "you're entitled to your opinion, but you're wrong. Grace is a brilliant designer, a valuable asset to this company, and the woman I love. She deserves this position, not because of any ulterior motives, but because of her talent and hard work." He turned to Grace, his eyes filled with love and admiration. "Grace," he said, his voice filled with tenderness, "will you accept this position? Will you share this journey with me, not as a pawn in my games, but as my equal, my partner, my love?" Grace looked at Jason, her heart swelling with emotion. She glanced at Olivia, her face filled with pity rather than anger. She had learned that true strength wasn't about wielding power over others, but about empowering oneself. She turned back to Jason, her voice clear and strong. "Yes, Jason," she said, her eyes shining with love and determination. "I accept. Olivia, defeated and humiliated, stormed out of the press conference, her dreams of reclaiming her position and her relationship with Jason shattered beyond repair. The journalists erupted in applause, their cameras flashing, capturing the moment of Grace's triumph, a triumph not just of talent but of resilience, integrity, and unwavering love. In the aftermath of the press conference, Grace quickly established herself as a force to be reckoned with in the fashion world. Her designs, innovative and fresh, resonated with consumers, breathing new life into the Harper Consortium brand. She mentored young designers, encouraging them to embrace their unique perspectives and challenge the status quo. She became a symbol of empowerment, a testament to the transformative power of hard work, talent, and unwavering self-belief. Jason, freed from the shackles of his past, found a new sense of purpose in supporting Grace's vision. He learned to value authenticity over superficiality, compassion over cruelty, and the quiet strength of genuine connection over the fleeting allure of power and control. He found true fulfillment not in accumulating wealth and status, but in nurturing the love he shared with Grace, a love that had blossomed from the ashes of revenge and transformed them both. Olivia, stripped of her status and social standing, embarked on a journey of self-discovery. She enrolled in business school, determined to rebuild her life on her own, to find her path to success, independent of any man. She learned a valuable lesson about the fragility of basing one's self-worth on external validation and the importance of building a foundation of inner strength and resilience. Years later, Jason and Grace, their love deepened by shared experiences and mutual respect, stood on the balcony of their Tuscan villa, overlooking the rolling hills and vineyards. They had built a life together, a life filled with love, laughter, and the quiet comfort of knowing they had found their true home in each other's arms. "I never thought I could be this happy," Jason confessed, his voice filled with contentment. Grace smiled, her eyes shining with love. "Me neither," she admitted. "But sometimes, life surprises us in the most unexpected ways." They had weathered storms together, navigated challenges, and emerged stronger and more in love than ever. Their journey had been messy, imperfect, and, at times, painful, but it had led them to a place of profound peace and enduring happiness. They had learned that true love wasn't a fairy tale ending but a continuous journey of growth, forgiveness, and unwavering commitment. It wasn't about finding the perfect person but about seeing the imperfect person perfectly, embracing their flaws, and celebrating their strengths. It wasn't about escaping the small spaces but about learning to breathe together, even in the tightest of confines. It wasn't about revenge or redemption but about the quiet revolution of two souls choosing love over everything else.